Welcome back to Backroomconvos. I'm your host, Lesego M, Big Buddy Pod, aka She's Your Shoulder. Maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy like Kyle. Listen, if you are a fan of pod, stay tuned because you might like what we're cooking. On this week's episode, we're talking about girlfriend allowance or girlfriend subscription if you made. You may be asking yourself, what is a girlfriend subscription? So a girlfriend subscription is an unofficial girlfriend salary if you made. That's my opinion. It's an unofficial girlfriend salary. So there's no guest on this week. We decided to venture into doing like solo podcasts, so you and I can catch up and talk about some of these things that we at the moment can't get guests for, and maybe share, have a discussion, a chat, so we can also engage in the comment section on the topics that we talk about weekly. So yeah, we are talking about girlfriend allowance, and as I mentioned earlier on, that girlfriend allowance is an unofficial girlfriend salary. So if you agree, get onto the comment section and tell me why you disagree with how I define or describe what a girlfriend allowance is. This came about the topic of girlfriend allowance. Oh, by the way, it was my birthday on the 5th of October. So I was talking to a friend of mine by the name of Matabelo, Leo. Shout out to Leo. She's also a big fan of the podcast. So she was asking me about girlfriend allowances. I was like, no, I'm not doing girlfriend allowances. And I gave her my reasons as to why I'm not doing girlfriend allowances. And I was like, well, if I was dating, if the girl had to come to me, I would have, requested for her, bought food for her, standard procedure, right? But as for girlfriend allowance, that's where I draw my line to say this is not where I'm going individually, because sometimes I think, before I get into my next point, is that as gents, we don't talk enough about girlfriend allowances. Maybe it's because it doesn't really make sense, or it doesn't matter, but we don't really talk about it, and this is for the gents that complain about it, and normally if gents are complaining about it, commonly the gents that are actually paying the girlfriend's allowance, giving the girlfriend allowance, giving the girlfriend's allowances. Basically, I'm not complaining about it, I'm not complaining. I'm just, saying to you that I personally wouldn't do it, I personally wouldn't do it. And if the guys are complaining, and sometimes I look at it in this sense to say, the reason you have that person as your girlfriend, it's by choice, from both parties, you have that girlfriend, but you chose her knowing very well this person is this type of a person, and you grow to learn their habits. And most importantly, the communication part is very important in the relationship, to kind of manage the some of the expectations in the relationships. I think communication is key in that sense, I think, for me. And I think sometimes we as gents don't know why we go into relationships. And sometimes I think it's common in gents where you see a nice young lady and you're like, yo, I like her for myself. And it goes, you can get 3, 4, 5, 6, and and it may be I just wanna smash, I just wanna hit, and and you find yourself the situation and it requires you to take out that girlfriend allowance, you understand? Because now the person is like, yo, bro, you should, yawanyana, tawanyana, 2 tawanyana, 10 stenanyana even, and you're not in that position because there's 5 of them ladies, there's 5 of them ladies, and you're like, I can't be paying, girlfriend allowance or whatever the case may be. So now I don't agree with it, because this is why I don't know if that made any sense by any means, but this is why I personally don't agree with it. I think this is me. When I look into a relationship, by the way, I am not dating. I'm not dating. Code of conduct, I am not dating. I am not dating, inside, outside, or within the IPHC community. I'm not dating. I just wanted to put an emphasis on that, to say like I'm not dating. But if I was, this, like, I'm very specific, because I think already relationships are a reflection somehow of who you are as a person and the choices that you make in life generally. To wake up and brush your teeth is a choice. To make yourself peanut butter sandwich over taking a banana or apple, it's a choice. Understand? Even a relationship, in that sense, it's a choice, because when as a child she decided to go out, and even the ladies who live on that, it's a choice, because they're now be mates. Understand? So even though the guys are the ones that are courting and stuff, but even like these days it's female not courting, so it goes both ways. Yeah, but so it's a choice, and I think that being a choice, you have to know, like, this is what I'm looking for in a relationship. This is what I'm looking for in a relationship, and you communicate that with your partner to say, like, partner, this is the situation, and this is like any stages of the relationship. You communicate so that, like, this is my expectation as far as like our relationship, and this is where I see you and I. Understand? Because I think a lot of the failing relationship, it's because like people don't have skin tenor. We are just together, and later on you find that the lady is pregnant now, and the dude doesn't want to take responsibility because he didn't sign up for that. Yeah, and the fact that you guys never even had the conversation now, and babe, when are we planning to have a kid? When are we? You understand? It's a choice, and again, it goes back to like the choice thing, as I mentioned before. And for me, that I'm very conscious as to what I bring in and out of my life, and in that sense, I'm like, I have to communicate. If I'm not going to pay that girlfriend allowance, I am going to let you know for sure, Bona Miguel. Now I won't be paying girlfriend allowance, and knowing the girls that I love. It's not the girls that subscribe to like girlfriend allowances. Those are the type of girls that I'm talking about. But it may be a different situation with other gents, because like we have different preferences as people. But I'm saying what the women that I want, they won't, because there's reasons I can give you, but due to time I can't dive into that. But I'm saying like I would communicate that with them to say like, Moto, this is my stance on this. What's your stance on this? Let's talk about it, and give me your reasons why. I think in that sense, make me understand as to why you need or deserve a girlfriend allowance. Because to me, the reason I say it doesn't make sense. This is what, if I'm giving you a 10th hour is a dating allowance, monthly dating allowance. What happens when we get married? Understand? What happens when we get married? Because the standards and rates, meaning when we get married, when you'll be looking at the salary, you'll be looking at 20th hour, 30th hour, and there are people that are getting there. There are people that are getting there. I think we've had people like Mafu say he's getting more than that. We've had Mihlali saying he's getting that. Shout out to the boyfriends. Shout out to Willie Roy and people who can do it. Shout out to them. When you get married, you get 30 now. That's a salary, and of which now I'm not in a position to say I'm willing to take that out. I'm not in that position, and I don't think I'll be in that position, because now we've even had the conversation. Maybe 10 years down the line it might change because of the conversation that I might have with the prospect. You know what I'm saying? So the reason I'm saying Lorik is standard, because there's a comedian, I forgot the name of the comedian. He says when she was dating her wife, to get the deed, it was very simple. She was getting her wife flowers, and she got, they did the deed. When they got married, it changed. Everything changed. Because now the flowers didn't cut it for her. The chocolates didn't cut it for her. Because now the house is here. It's like when she wanted to get the deed, she would make things like, you would come up with things like, who wants some new floors, who wants some new tabs, and it just goes to show you, like, there's also standards to it. And that 10th hour won't be the 10th hour after getting married. And it's also like the communication or mutu. Why am I giving you this? You understand? Why am I giving you this? Why am I paying you a salary in relationship? You get it? Like, because at this point, I don't understand. And it's a one-sided conversation that I'm having with you. Well, we do have some tips that will be taken out in a few minutes. But I'm saying, it's a one-sided conversation. And let me know if you feel like we need to have a guest in the show, Oloring is a female, to give me a different perspective on my thoughts on the girlfriend allowance thingy. And I looked up the stats. Yes, I did look up stats. The unemployment rate in South Africa, it's for unemployment by education, which is like 1.2% of graduates that are unemployed by Stats SA 2023, first quarter. You can go look it up on Google. Stats SA unemployment by education. It says it's 1.2. And I'm like, when I read that, and I was like, how many of those are like graduates that are not looking into working because they're getting that girlfriend allowance? And it goes back to what I was saying, it's an unofficial girlfriend salary, this thing, because maybe that 1.2% of unemployed graduate, it's because of those people who don't want to work, sweat, whatever. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm saying it might be a possibility, or it might be those people who are graduated and are looking to the housewives. There's housewives, because popular shows like the housewife, the real housewives of Kai, they're just housewives and they enjoy the lives. The husband is fine with the lady being at the house full time. It's an arrangement, it's communication, it's being made clear. As a man, I'm going out to do this. When are you the housewife? I don't, in that sense, I understand, because there's communication, clear communication being done, or like, I'll do this, you do this, the house, take care of the kids, boom, boom, boom. It's fine in that sense for me, because there's communication that's being made. And that was an interesting thought for me to highlight for you guys, and I thought, maybe some of these things that we want to fight as a country, we won't achieve, because there's certain aspects they like these ones, the 1.2% of unemployed graduates, and the factor might be that they are housewives, and like how much I think we need to trickle it down to say how much are the unemployed graduates who are housewives, so we can understand this is what we're working with as a country. You get my point? I think we also need to break it down to that level as a country, to say these are like the housewives that are getting salaries, so there's no point of them working in the way I'm processing everything. There's no point in them working, because they're getting the 30th hour, the 40th hour, even the 100th hour. Before you think it's in Mihlali, they're getting 100 hours. So there's no point in their minds to go out in the workplace and start working. I think that was important for me to highlight, to say, like, we think they need to break down these stats, so we also understand that, there's so much, there's 0.5% of graduates that are actually housewives, and how much is 1.5 of the unemployment, and how is that affecting the country? And I think there's also that conversation to have within the thing at the girlfriend allowance, So when we come back after the break, we are going to take out some tweets of people talking about girlfriend allowances and get to have a conversation around that. Please follow, subscribe, and rate the show to get a notification each and every time we drop a new episode. I'm your boy, your host, Lesego M, Daddy Pod, aka Shoot Your Shot, and maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy like Cairo. When we come back, we're reading out the tweets. Cheers. Welcome back to Backroomconvos. I'm your host, Lesego M, Daddy Pod, aka Shoot Your Shot, and maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy like Cairo. Listen, on this week's episode, if you are a fan of pods, stay tuned because you might like what we're cooking. So on this week's episode, we're talking about girlfriend allowance, aka girlfriend subscription. What is a girlfriend subscription, if I make? So girlfriend subscription, I said in the first 15 minutes it's an unofficial girlfriend salary, and a lot of you are disagreeing with me and some of you are agreeing with me. And before we went on the break, I gave you a story of how we got to talk about this topic. So a friend of mine, Matapelu, texting me happy birthday, got to talk about girlfriend allowances as to why she's not taking me out. But I was like, no, I'm not dating A, B, and C. It's like, yeah, I don't subscribe to girlfriend allowances. And she was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I don't do girlfriend allowances. And maybe that's how I feel about the way I feel about this is because maybe I'm broke or I'm young, and there might be that as well, to say he is ignorant, he is, there's a lot of factors, but into that as well, I think what most importantly, conversation or communication is very key. I wanted to say, Mutata, this is what I think about girlfriend allowances, and I don't think I'll ever be in a position where I can really give you a girlfriend allowance. You get what I'm? And that's just me, where I'm not, and if he has a different point from mine to say, this is what I think a girlfriend, she is giving me her point of view on girlfriend allowances. She's like, oh babe, this is, because now I want a different caliber for men. I want, but why not they think and they can, the reasoning capacity is off this wall basically, so they let me know why I have to. And as I said, it's a choice. Relationship is a choice. And if you're complaining about the relationship, my nigga, you need to think about the other choices in your life. Because if you're not happy about that, maybe you need to relook or repurpose your life in every angle. Let's just be. Because I did think, in a relationship, if you are giving her girlfriend allowance, yeah, 10-hour, a 10-hour girlfriend allowance, you're giving her a 10-hour girlfriend allowance. What happens when you're married? Because that person, you'll be giving that person a salary. That's what I'm getting from this, And I'm like, I'm not in a position either, I can live with myself to say, 10-hour to 200 dinner, who's that? Faith and Gatsy. They are at that caliber, and there's nothing wrong about that, there's nothing wrong about that, because I think for men, let me just bring you into this. For men, we reach our prime in our 30s. When our 30s, that's when we get into, I found myself, things are coming together. 30 to 35, that's when we get to that level of confidence where things are coming together, where we do have the money, we do have the what in our early 20s to late 20s. That's when we're trying to discover ourselves. Who's the self, or what do I want? Because even now you find out that when you're broke, you don't even cut it for some of these women, to hell with mindset in their minds, to hell with mindset in everything that you can potentially bring into the relationship. Majority, if he's not paying, he's not taking me out to dates, she's not it for me, child. That's what they say. For me, I'm like, we get into that prime, and the one thing that you do when you're in your prime, you like look at all your crushes, the women that you go to school with, varsity, you look at your circle, the women that you like, the type it's how your types. You look at them and they're with older men, 24 years with 35-year-olds, men that are in their prime. And I'll give you the reason why they do that. Many they 30, early 30s and mid 30s, they're dating those young ones. And the cycle will never break, and I'll let you know why. And then when the ladies are in their prime, and I'll still continue with the story. The ladies in their prime between 19, ladies are in their prime between 18 and late 20s. That's where like peak prime warfare again, where he's getting your iPhones, one more better. That's prime, and it's getting that from all the 35-year-old. And I'll tell you why that's the case. When we are in our 20s to late 20s, that's where we put in the work, the grind to get the paper, hustle, whatever the case may be. We are in the grind, and the moment we get paper, the first thing we do is to do the things that we always wanted to do. And if getting the finest chick ever and paying that girlfriend allowance just to be with her, to say like, I'm going to, because the goal has always been to, it's always been to get a six-pack, to get a car. If it's a car, you get a car. It's because you're trying to get that off your system as a gent. And even for ladies, you get there, you want the latest iPhones, you want to go to John Legend's concerts. You get that in your 20s. So you might be the same age group, but when you get there first, I get there later. So if you want me in my prime, but you didn't want me when you were in your prime, is it fair to me as a gent? It's not. That cycle we can never break. We can never break. And the cycle will always continue to say, oh, he doesn't want me, men are trash, wada. It's because when you're in your prime, you didn't look at me as the person you could date. Why should I look at you as someone like someone you can date? Like, why should I look at you as someone I could potentially date when I'm in my prime? Understand? Because all these gents, they came in, they went out, iPhones came in and went out, and you had all the latest, took you, the finest restaurant. And then now when I get in my prime, exactly, I'm going for the younger ones. I don't want you when I'm joking. We don't want those ladies, because we want the younger ones as well, to say, I want the fresh one, the one that's in the prime. When you're not in your prime, I want that's why we always have that cycle. By Lorraine, they date all the dudes and all the dudes. It's not even the case of being a simp even. It's just getting some of these things out of your system as a guy. I can only talk from a perspective of a dude to say, like, when you get the paper, the first thing you need to do or you want to do, and even Skumbasa was supporting this, to say, he was telling a story about work. He was saying, when you get your salary every month, then the first thing you need to do, you need to go buy the one thing that makes you happy before you get home. Just buy the chicken, eat it, and enjoy it. You understand? He was telling a story about a friend who told her that, and now I'm telling you, the cycle continue. And he was saying that, he was sharing that with me, and I'm like, oh, that's so powerful. So it's very necessary that you get that off your system, because whenever you get that off your system, you are able to make the right choices from that point. To say, I got this off my system as a 30, my early 30s, mid 30s, I got to play, I got to do. Now this is what I want to build as a man. I have money, I have resources, I have everything. What am I building now? You understand? What am I building? Obviously, you were able to build yourself, personal development over your 20s, and you accumulated, you've built a lot. And if you want to build your families from your mid 30s to your early 40s, you have the time, you have the privilege to do all of those things. And I'll tell you, Ubuchi, like, there's a reason behind you look at the wives of like some of these guys by Lorraine, say Paul Mashatile, sheesh, her wife is amazing, is beautiful, right? But you look at Paul, you like Tutsoma, get Tutsoma, that guy, the looks are not giving, But because he has a resource, he has the bank, is able to get maybe to the, and I don't know if there's girlfriend allowances or if the lady is independent, but older mature men, and you tend to know what you want at that point, and you have, and even the lady, if he comes as someone who's been fighting, you're able to build a home, a very stable home based on whatever you guys bring into the table, and I think that was a very interesting story to say, and I wanted to bring that into perspective before we dive into the tweets. You guys, the tweets are here. So the first tweet I'm going to read out is from Sharon. So this is the context. So she didn't formally give us the full story. So I think I'll just give it to you, So I think Sharon went to his man, borrowed a dawa, a young one dawa, and the boyfriend gave him the one dawa. Gave her, sorry for that. So the boyfriend gave her the one dawa, and came month end, the month where she is getting the salary, unofficial salary, which is allowance. So she's getting a salary, she's getting her allowance, she's getting the girlfriend subscription from the boyfriend, and the allowance is short of a dawa, and that dawa she borrowed, So you can tell from this point, because this is how the tweet reads. I quote, "This man deducted the 1K I borrowed from him from my allowance." Hey, the English there. So I'll read it out again. "This man deducted the 1K I borrowed from him from my allowance." So for all of you who want to read out this tweet, you can go to Sharon at Twitter. It's Sharon Peculiar, one word, at Sharon Peculiar. You can get that on Twitter. Her name is at Sharon Peculiar on Twitter. So she said, "This man deducted the 1K I borrowed from him from my allowance." We can hear already the communication wasn't there. My point, back to my point, these things I don't feel they're being communicated, but as men we just do it because we want to get that thing off our system, like the ladies did in the prime, which is the 18 to 28, mid-20s. They also did the same thing. I think we also are trying to do that. We don't, and the relationships that fail or marriages that fail, it's because they are trying to build they are trying to go into a marriage with a broken foundation that they took from that experience, that thing that they were supposed to do once. They want to take that into their marriage, and it's a wrong formula to build a home on, because I think it's one of the contributing factors to broken families, to divorces, that then goes to affect the kids and whatever. So I think that's a contributing factor to it, and I think the people that understand this concept, they know, Uti, this is how you need to work as a man. That's why sometimes I feel, Uti, what I'm saying might not be for everybody, but it works for me. It doesn't mean it can work for the second person. As much as it didn't make sense to my friend Matapelo, it might not make sense to you, but it makes sense to me. You get my point? So for those of you who just joined us on the line, we started doing solo episodes, and it's just basically me and talking to you guys, engaging with the tweet, with the comments that you guys are sending into the show. So if you really like the conversation that we had today, please make sure to suggest some of the topics that you think we need to talk about, and we'll have more solo episodes with you. And I enjoy doing this. It's also, trying to put that skill in me as well, because I haven't been the greatest speaker, but with opening up and talking to you guys, I've learned that I'm coming out my shell. And I think, I thank you. I have you to thank, I have you to thank. So I think we need to have more of these episodes, break those down, have those because sometimes I think one thing that I realize that some guests that come into the podcast, they come in and it's the conversation are not genuine, because now, as much as we are talking, and Trevor was saying this to Anela the other day, I was like, oh, this is so true. He was saying that some of the guests that came into the Daily Show, they came because they were pushing a book, they were pushing A, B, and C. I don't have a problem with people that are coming in, but don't push. Let's have a genuine conversation and connect. And, we'll talk about the book. And if people like the interview that you and I are having, they will for sure, because of the person that they take from the conversation that we are having, it's easier to convert them to like, oh guys, he released the book A, B, and C, so go out and look out for that book. So it's easier in that sense. But if they come with the sense of like, I'm pushing this and everything they answer, it's PR, pushing something. So I feel like that doesn't feed me. So I think doing more of these will help me hold my skill in like public speaking. And I enjoyed this episode. So the book for this week, we also have another feature. So we'll be on every episode that we do, solo episodes that we'll be doing, we'll be dropping a book of the week. So the book of the week for this episode is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Atomic Habits by James Clear. Habits by James Clear. I haven't finished the book. I think I read like 3-4 pages of the book. So it's hard to say for me to give if it's a go to bed book. But people are highly recommending this book. And I appreciate you for being with me this long, 31 minutes into this. Tell me what you think of the solo episode and if we should do more. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, rate the show. And don't forget to follow, subscribe, rate the show to get a notification each and every time we drop a new episode. I appreciate the follow. I appreciate the love that you guys are showing me. I'm your host, Lesego M, Daddy Waddy Pod, aka Shoot Your Shot, and maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy Night Cairo. Let's meet on another great segment of Backroom Convos with Lesego M. Cheers.